It's not recording. Okay. Tell me when it is. Live what? What do you mean? I'm. They're watching. People are watching now. I see. You did want me to. Okay. Well, hello. I'm Earl. Earl Doyle. I'm Bob's uncle. I'm in visiting from Atlanta, Georgia, where I've lived my whole life. And we were talking earlier about stories and telling stories because he knows that occasionally, I used to do it much more, but I lead a storytelling group in Atlanta on Sunday mornings. We used to, for the 39 years, we've been meeting in a library, but now we can't, of course, do that. So we're meeting with the Zoom. And the way the storytelling group works is that basically one person is designated as the not leader isn't the right word, but the one who starts the tale, just throws out an idea, a couple of sentences or so. It's not like we trade sentences or words or anything. We'll complete thoughts or whatever. We'll try to progress the story in some way as we move along. And the way that it works is, I would say something along the lines of, I'll never forget the day in the summer of 1958 when I fully believed I found a wishing well. Now at that point, the next person, it might be Mrs. Miller, she'll come in and she'll add to the story. Am I over explaining this? So she'll say something like, the wishing well was a legend in our town for many years until one day someone decided to find it. And then at that point, Mrs. Miller would hand it off to maybe Mr. Miller if he was there. The problem with Mr. Miller is he sometimes works on Sundays as a groundskeeper, so he can't always be at the weekly meeting. So sometimes Mrs. Miller will have to pass it on to Mr. Jones or Johnson. Mr. Johnson. Mr. Jones, he no longer attends the meetings. He got himself into a bit of trouble. I suppose since I'm not around. What are all these words? Who is Jane or Kathy? Because there's some typing I'm seeing. Comments. They're comments on what? I don't understand. Oh, I see. They're okay. They're listening. Uncle Earl, how the heck are you? Nice to meet y'all. Hello. Nice to meet you too, Jane and Kat. Who's Restream EO? Okay. So Mr. Jones got himself into some trouble with the bank. He was accused of forgery, but it was later proven that was just a misunderstanding. But in that investigation, some other things were uncovered that were unseemly, let's just say, and not to the caliber of, well, it just wasn't a fit for this group anymore. Let's just put it that way. I don't want to tell too many tales. There's still some legal things. And in any case, so if Mr. Jones, if Mr. Miller isn't there, it might be Mr. Johnson. And so Mr. Johnson would say something along the lines of something to add to the fact that someone in the town was going to go now find this wishing well. They were tired of hearing the legend for so many years of this wishing well, because it had such fantastical powers in this legend, with the wish granting, things like that. That was a very popular idea at the time. The idea that you could wish for something and it would just occur, and so the idea of a wishing well, as you can imagine, was quite appealing. So the people in the town were going through some hard times, I suppose, and so it seemed a good time to go find a wishing well. You know, if there was one, now would be the time. Now, at that point, if Mr. Johnson said that much, he might get penalized. Not that he didn't further the story, of course. He clearly did in this example. But it was too many sentences. It was borderline rude. Because you see, we're listening to the story, and we're lacking, perhaps, where he's going. However, Mrs. Bentano is waiting for her turn to add to the story, and she's waiting patiently. And, Mr. Johnson's just gone on and on about why a wishing well would be important, which we all felt was fine, but over-explained. You understand? I mean, the idea of wish granting is pretty self-explanatory. I think you know what I'm trying to say. Although the town was in deep trouble. They had not had rain in 206 days. There was some sort of problem with the water. And there were people with the sniffles here and there and coughing on one another. Now, this was a long time ago, so there weren't masks on every street corner. So all those things going against them created an atmosphere where you had a lot of townspeople who wanted things changed. So wishing well seemed good. I think you understand. What's this? Your nephew looks so much. We get that. We get. Well, I used to. My voice wasn't quite like this before when I was younger. I used to be something of an orator. I spoke on a regular basis, and I was actually even on the radio for a short amount of time in Atlanta, local, a small station, but I did enjoy playing some of that music. Now, I didn't play anything with words; it was all instrumental and some classical and things like that. But I did get to come on between the songs and say things like, "You're listening to WATL." All classics all the time. I'm Earl Doyle, and here's the weather. And then I throw it over to what was his name? Kendrick something. I almost had it. Anyway, I throw it over to him, and he'd do his weather thing, and sometimes I'd say something when he'd throw it back, like, "Okay, thanks, Kendrick. Now here's some Bach," or whatever. But sometimes I would just go right into the music as he was wrapping up the weather. So anyway, that's how story time worked. And does work now. It's electronical, and it's nice because we end up with recordings of it. So, our Christmas gifts we're done. We're basically done shopping because we just give recordings of our story time sessions to our family. Kids get a big kick out of it. At least that's what the parents say. The grandchildren. Apparently they look forward to it, and of course, we enjoy giving. I think we have Betty put some music to it. She's got some sort of editing equipment, and so they get a nice little package with lots of stories on it, and we edit out all the cursing that Philip does because it doesn't really contribute to the story. So let's drink some water real quick. So anyway, Bob has asked me to tell a story, and normally, like I say, we do this in a group, but I have been known, and of course for years I was a semi-professional storyteller. I would be brought into schools and local organizations of various types that needed a story, because there was a time, I don't know if any of you are old enough to know this, I imagine Bob gets a much younger audience than people of my age, but there was a time when stories were more important than they are now. So he's asked me to tell a story, and I suppose he just something I'm supposed to make up on the spot. Normally, I like to pull from my real life experiences. It's just much more I find more interesting. Even if I'm gonna, perhaps embellish a little bit, which is sort of part of the art of storytelling. You just kind of throw in a tall tale or a false fact, if you will, just to make it interesting. Because actually, the story that my story might be based on is I'm 77, Jane. I don't mind saying it. I'm happy to have made it this long. When you children get to be my age, you'll know what I'm talking about. But right now, just enjoy your youth, is what I'm saying, and try to bring more stories into your life, because stories are our history, and we must pass on the stories. So not just made up stories like Jack and the Beanstalk, or the classics that are being told today, but real life stories, the stories of your life, the things that shaped who you are and who you were, and the lessons you learned. Those are the stories that truly shape the future. So it's important that you honor that. Jane is 11 years behind. Oh, so we have some adults. Listening. Well, good, because you'll probably probably appreciate a good story more than short attention span theater out there, what we call our youth today. That's a little joke I've been telling recently. Anyway, so I have been here in Las Vegas for a few days, and he's taken me down to the Bob has taken me down to the exploring park. There was a mountain that we did not climb. I said, not today. I think it was upwards of 100 degrees, and but we sat under a tree, and he was telling me about how he would, and Tracy, what a lovely girl. I just could not be more impressed. Of course, she was there too, and they were telling me about how they do this climbing a tree thing every day, and it just sounded. I don't fully understand it all, but they say they have fun. If it gets them outside, I'm all for it. You know what I mean? That's it. Thank you, Jane. Exploration Peak Park. I believe that's what he's left the room at the moment, so I can't clarify. Oh yeah, Tracy, she's just lovely, and they seem quite happy together. If they do a broadcast, I'm sure you see that, and it's pretty obvious. But anyway, so we were out there when it was a little cooler, and lovely, just a lovely place, lots of green and dogs playing and just all the wonderful things. But I did, as I was looking around, I noticed sort of a hole, if I, for lack, well, it appeared to be a hole at the time in the side of this hill. And I asked him what the hole was, and he says that's a cave of wonder. And I had this, I'm sure, inquisitive look on my face, cave of wonder. And I tried to be humorous. I said something along the lines of, I wonder what is wonderful about it. I think I was sharper in my youth, to be honest with you, but anyway. So I asked him, though, and I wonder what is wonderful about it. And he said, would you like to go up there and see for yourself? And I said, well, it looks a little high up there. I mean, it's basically towards the top of the hill, and I don't think I have that. And the next thing I knew, we were in it. I didn't walk, I didn't take a step. The last thing I remember before being in that cave was a glint in his eye and a wink to Tracy. But I will tell you this, it truly was a cave of wonder. The view from there was extraordinary, and of course I don't know how it got there. We spent several minutes just looking at the scenery. Bob began to sing a little song, and I had to cover my ears. It just wasn't pleasant to me, but I think Tracy was singing along. She seems to be a good sport. And just as I'm about to say something along the lines of how the hell did we get in here, we were back at the bottom of the hill. Now, I've been around a long time, Jane. It's the first time anything like that's ever happened to me. But it gave me a story I can tell for the rest of my life. A story unlike any other I've told. Most of my stories are based on experiences that most people would consider mundane, but I've never teleported from one place to another, which is the term they told me that applies here. It didn't hurt. Have I seen any of Bob's shows? They're really, what is that a picture of? Is that a basket with, it's a cup of coffee. They're really coffee. Have you seen any of Bob's shows? They're really, is this like a rebus? They're really, have I? But to answer your question, no, I have not. He's just told me about the climbing the tree thing. So I suppose maybe if he wants to show me something before I leave, I could check it out. I don't really do the internet too much, except for the weekly storytelling meetings. So we don't have a very fast connection, and I think I don't know. I don't even know how much is it expensive to watch, because we already have the Netflix and we pay for the Amazon Prime, and I mean, I know he could probably get me in for free or whatever, but that's just not how I like to do it. I want to be, fair. So I would imagine a show like his is probably a subscription of, I don't know, but anyway, it's just not in my budget right now. But perhaps if he ever puts out like a DVD collection, I can see it then, or something like that. Music, ask him show Music Mondays. What is that? What is a Music Monday? I don't know what a Music Monday is, but I will try to remember to ask him. I don't know how to stop this. I don't know how to stop this, so I have to wait until he comes back. Oh no, he told me about a button. Hold on. There's too many. There's too many. I'll ask him about his shows and see what he says. I don't know what I really don't know what our agenda